Jai Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Gopijana Balaba Girivanadari. Gopijana Balaba Girivanadari. Yasodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yasodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Chamuniti Ravanachari. Jamunati Ravanachari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Balaba Girivanadari. Yasodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Jamunati Ravanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Boom! Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Oh! Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Boom! Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Oh. Jai Ram Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Ram Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Piri Bhajakacharya Siddhishisham, His Divine Grace. Abhay Charan Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Jagaguru Srila Prabhupada Ki. Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki. Prem Shri Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki. Vrindavan Dham Ki, Mathura Dham Ki, Dwarka Dham Ki, Navadi Dham Ki, Jagannathpuri Dham Ki, Jamuna Mai Ki, Ganga Mai Ki, Tulsi Maharani Ki, Bhakti Devi Ki, Sambhira Bhakti Vinda Ki, Srila Prabhupada Ki, Sri Radha Girirari Ki, Sri Krishna Sankirtana Jaga Ki, Gopremanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Hey, I'm wondering about this water. Is it fresh or is it old? Yeah, so I think it's... Who can I... Yeah, do you mind just giving it a pitch and putting some Maha water in there? Thanks. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Krishna Sadamo Bhagate Dharmika Nadi Saha Kalandasa Dashamesha Paranarko Nidodita Nalayana Namaskricha Naram Chaivam Narotama Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat. The Bhagavatam is as brilliant as the sun. It is arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna. I left something out there. No. Accompanied with knowledge, religion, etc. Thank you.
This is filtered water. There's no Maha.
Acha. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of the age of Kali shall get light out of this Purana. Before beginning our study of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should first offer respects to the personality of God in Narayan, the Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, the goddess of living Mother Saraswati, the author Srila Vyasadeva, and my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada. So we are on the 7th canto, chapter 15, text 25. And this is Narada Muni speaking to Yudhishthira Maharaj. Rajas, tamas, cha, satvena, sattvam, chopashamena, cha, etat, sarvam, guru, bhaktya, purusho, hi, anjasa, jayat, rajas, tamas, cha, satvena, sattvam, chopashamena, cha, etat savam guru bhaktya purusho hyanjasa jayat rajas tamas cha satvena sattvam chopashamena cha etat savam guru bhaktya Purusho hyanjasa jayat rajas tamascha satvena sattvam chopashamena cha etat sarvam guru bhaktya Purusho hyanjasa jayat Rajas tamascha satvena sattvam chopashamena cha etat sarvam guru bhaktya purusho hyanjasa jayat rajas tamascha satvena sattvam chopashamena cha etat sarvam guru bhaktya purusho hyanjasa jayat rajas tamascha satvena sattvam chopashamena cha etat sarvam guru bhaktya purusho hyanjasa jayat Vaishnavis rajas tamascha satvena sattvam chopashamena cha etat sarvam guru bhaktya Purusho hyanjasa jayat rajas tamascha satvena sattvam chopashamena cha etat sarvam guru bhaktya Purusho hyanjasa jayat rajatama, the mode of passion and ignorance. Cha and satvena, by developing the mode of goodness. Sattvam, the mode of goodness. Cha, also. Upashamena, by giving up attachment. Cha, and etat, these, sarvam, all, guru, unto the spiritual master. Bhaktya, by rendering service and devotion. Purusha, a person. He, indeed. Anjasa, easily. Jayat, can conquer. Sorry about that, can conquer. Translation. One must conquer the mode of passion and ignorance by developing the mode of goodness. And then one must become detached from the mode of goodness by promoting oneself to the platform of Suddha Sattva. All these can be automatically done if one engages in the service of the spiritual master with faith and devotion. In this way, one can conquer the influence of the modes of nature. Okay, I'll say, you say. One must conquer the modes of passion and ignorance by developing the mode of goodness. And then one must become detached from the mode of goodness by promoting oneself to the platform of Suddha Sattva. All this can automatically be done if one engages in the service of the spiritual master with faith and devotion. In this way, one can conquer the influence of the modes of nature. Prabhupada's purport. Just by treating the root cause of an ailment, one can conquer all bodily pains and suffering. Similarly, if one is devoted and faithful to the spiritual master, he can conquer the influence of sattva-gun, rajogun, and tamogun very easily. Yogis and jnanis practice in many ways to conquer the senses, but the bhakta immediately attains the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the mercy of the spiritual master. Yasha prasadat bhagavat prasado. I have 2 asterisks after that. Why?
Something else to note. Oh, it comes from the database. They gave the whole Gurvashtika here in this note.
Okay. If the spiritual master is favorably inclined, one naturally receives the mercy of the Supreme Lord. And by the mercy of the Supreme Lord, one can immediately become transcendental, conquering all the influences of sattva-gun, rajagun, and tamagun within this material world. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate, Bhagavad Gita 14:26. If one is a pure devotee acting under the directions of the Guru, one can easily get the mercy of the Supreme Lord and thus become immediately situated on the transcendental platform. This is explained in the next verse. Om Gana Tamarandasya Gyana Gana Salakaya Chakshu Militan Gina Tasiri Shri Gurave Namaha. Hey, do we get this class in the kitchen?
Yes.
We do. Ancha. That's good news. So, Om Gana Tamarandasya Gyana Gana Salakaya Jakshu Militan Gina Tasiri Shri Gurave Namaha. The chapter is called, and it's coming to, well, not for a while though, Instructions for Civilized Human Beings. Now, the question becomes, because it seems to be inherent in the title, that there's civilized and uncivilized human beings. Now, you know, eating off a leaf plate with clay cups. In the Vedic times, the only big building was for the temple, and then the king would have a big building to invoke power and respect. But everyone else, you know, lived in small, simple buildings. And I mean, a bullock cart doesn't, you know, when you can get a Ferrari, that's not very civilized. Although I'll tell you, I was driving to Jaipur Actually, I don't drive in India. You have to be almost suicidal to drive in India. Ram told me this. I don't know if you remember this, Ram, but I was teaching you how to drive, and Ram said, I said, anyway, he said, there's so much. Actually, first I gave him the DMV book with all the rules. Ram said, you know, we got to learn all these things. You know, he's a Brahmin. He's not going to waste his time stuffing his head full of unnecessary things. I said, yeah, Ram, you needed to pass the test. I said, didn't you have rules in India? I said, did you ever drive in India? He said, yeah. I said, don't they have a DMV readers, you know, log up? He said, no. He said, there's only one rule in India. Don't hit anything. And if you think about it, it pretty much covers it. Of course, don't hit anything doesn't cover you not being hit, now that I think about it. But so civilized and uncivilized. Oh, so I was driving one time from Vrindavan to Jaipur. And we passed on the car. It was early in the morning. We left right after Mangalarti. And there was a bullock cart, you know, a cart. And in the back of it was full of, I don't know whether it was wheat or barley or something. They were, you know, some grain was in the back. And I saw that the whole family was asleep, out cold. You know, there was the husband, the wife, and a couple kids, conked out. And the bullock, there were two bullocks, two bulls, and they were just walking. They knew where they were going. They just, so I thought it was actually quite civilized, you know. You're driving the car, you're tired. Well, isn't it self-driving cars is considered very civilized to have but they had self-driving cars with a knowledgeable bullock thousands of years ago. And do you ever read in the paper in India? I remember I was packing something up to be shipped back to the temple. It was one of the first times I was in India. And it was a little bit of a, what do you call that, white knuckle experience driving from Calcutta out to Mayapur. You know, I remember someone saying that driving in India is like living inside a video game. Things are coming at you from every direction. So I thought, well, they must know what they're doing, right? I mean, the horn in India is a communication tool. They get all kinds of messages can be broadcast by the different ways they honk the horn. So, but then I was packing something up to ship back to Radhagiridhari, and I happened to have as a packing material a English language newspaper. And somehow the section was reporting all the accidents from yesterday, previous day. And lo and behold, was pages and pages. People, you know, cars being hit by trains, running into each other, driving off bridges, falling off the road in the Himalayas. It was chaos out there, pandemonium. So, civilized, what is the measure of civilized? Gandhi, and Prabhupada quoted it, when Gandhi went to the round table discussions in London, this was the Brits playing him like a yo-yo to reduce pressure in India. They said, oh, well, let's meet, let's talk. You know, it went on for 30 years. So they took him on a tour. He's there in a simple gamsha and his walking stick, and they took him on a tour of London. You can imagine what is it called? Westminster Parliament. They went past, what is the cathedral there? The big, whatever it is. They went past the halls of Buckingham Palace, and London was the capital of the world at the time. So they said to him in their bowler hats and Savile Row suits, feeling very sophisticated, they said, "Well, Gandhiji, what do you think of Western civilization?" And he said to them, "I think it would be a good idea," which means, may you someday become civilized. So Prabhupada liked it. So similarly, instruction for civilized human beings, one of the first things I heard Prabhupada say, this was at the old temple in Los Angeles, and he was, the first thing I read, one of the first things I read, was Prabhupada talking about polished dogs and cats. And, I was a kid, and sometimes we would watch cartoons. And, I wasn't that young. I was 17. Or maybe I was, anyway, whatever, 17. But they used to have cartoons with dogs and bears, and they'd all be wearing human clothes and walking upright. If you think about don't think about it too much, but you think about the cartoons you used to see. So they were just dogs and cats dressed up nicely in suits and ties. So I remember when Prabhupada, I read that, and and what is Prabhupada's basis for saying why? Is it just a cultural slur because he's coming from India and a colonial retaliation? Why is Prabhupada, other than Dravida, and he gives the measure why he calls them dogs and cats? Is it a random statement, or what's it based on? Anyone have a comment?
Eating, mating, sleeping, defending.
They're just eating, sleeping. Thank you. Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. They may be more polished, therefore we give them credit. We say, you're polished, dogs and cats. You're sleeping in I remember seeing an article that someone had I think it was Rockefeller, the famous Rockefeller family, had a motorized bed. I guess he could drive himself over to the fridge, or I don't know what, motorized bed. I hope he doesn't drive in his sleep. That would have some awkward moments. But so what? And they're up to, what do they have? They had the atom bomb, they have the H bomb. I don't know what they're up to now, but the average thermonuclear bomb is 1,000 times more powerful, 1,000. We can't even conceive of that, than the first nuclear bomb that they dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki was the other place. Have you ever seen pictures of that? It's blocks and blocks just reduced to matchsticks. People, anyway, I don't want to go too far afield. So it's just shocking. Imagine that increased 1,000 times. It's just, and I think how many? I think they put a cap on it, the SALT treating, Strategic Arms Limitation Treaty, that the Soviet Union in those days and the United States each could have 3,500 thermonuclear bombs. Imagine. So, but how is that so much different than a caveman pushing a boulder off a cliff on a dinosaur or another caveman? You're more sophisticated. What is it with a sling? Is it a sling that you put a David and Goliath, you put a rock and you... Huh? The original slingshot, yeah. It's done with what is it? When you go around this, anyway, it doesn't matter. But the point is, whether you throw a rock or whether you throw a thermonuclear bomb, the psychology is exactly the same. I mean, you see hogs, I mean, not to get scatological, but you see hogs in India, they're relishing. I mean, someone goes out to the field to pass stool, and the hogs run out there. It's like a smorgasbord, whatever's, all you can eat. So, and they're enlivened. So, there was a restaurant that the devotees, when we used to do Harinam downtown, and as we do sometimes on special occasions, and it was an outdoor restaurant. I forget the name of it, doesn't matter. And it specialized in fish, Mediterranean fish dishes. And the devotees, you'd do Harinam and you'd be only like from this to the camera away from the diners, and they'd have plates. Oyster was a big thing, with this pile of shells and bones and feathers, and the devotees invariably would hold their nose when they would, because it smelled nasty. There was a place next to it that was and I'll have to speed up. There was a place right next to it that was for cigar fans. And they'd be out there with big stogies puffing away. And so many times I saw the devotees come past that place, they'd smell it, and they'd look at their shoe. They thought, oh, geez, did I step in something? It got to the point that actually it was a little embarrassing for the guys thinking they're cool, puffing on their big cigars. And then the devotees all looking at their shoe, and what did I step in, So between the piles of their plates, and there was some kind of blood sauce and bones and feathers and cigars, everybody looking at their shoe, what did I step in? So they thought they were sophisticated, but what does it actually mean to be sophisticated? Civilized. And civilized, Prabhupada describes, in the way they say it in modern terminology now, is to understand that we live in a purpose-driven existence, universe. There's only two choices. Wondering what they are? Did everything happen by chance? Is it all just random? Of course, as soon as you say laws of physics, laws of chemistry, embedded within the question, laws of mathematics, laws of physics, laws of chemistry. What is embedded in the statement, the laws of nature? Dravida Prabhu. There has to be a lawmaker. But either their presentation is everything happens by chance, random, we live in a silent, sterile universe, and everything happens by chance, or it's purpose-driven. Purpose-driven means that there's a designer. If there's a designer for existence, and it is a whole lot more logical to make the case for that than everything happened by random chance. Things left to random. We lost our gardener. Our Manibandhani is sailing the seas to New Zealand. Will the garden take care of itself? Will it weed itself? Will it water itself? Will it, it'll go to seed. It simply goes to seed. If you leave a building alone, you see those abandoned cities or whatever, Do you ever find it evolving into a better state? I mean, they have rationales and all this kind of stuff. Well, it's organic and that's, but it doesn't make any sense at all. It really, if you step back and just talk about experience, we don't experience that things goes from a state of chaos to a state of order. Rather, we find something, unless acted on by an outside force, but something, it's in a state of order, left without sustained outside force, devolves into chaos. Things go from complicated to simple. They don't evolve from simple to complicated. That's not our experience. Nobody experiences that. So what it means is, civilized means to have, if I live in a world with design, what is the implication? A design means it has a, other than Dravida, if I say, oh, this has a design, that means it has a, okay, fine, it's got an intelligence behind it, okay. But I'm looking for another answer. Matthias, if I say it has a design, and it's a fact that it has a design, what does that mean? It has a purpose. Way to go. I ordered a pair of pliers on Amazon yesterday, in case you were wondering what I was doing with part of my day. I ordered a pair of pliers. Now, you would think it's a simple act, right? No, no, no. There's pages and pages of different types of pliers. There's needle nose pliers, there's short-handled pliers, there's all kinds of, and each is designed for a particular purpose. This can get in and around corners, this one, so many things. So that means it has a purpose. They have a different design because they have different purposes. So if there is design, which is overwhelmingly can be proven, then it must have a purpose. What is the purpose of this world? So civilized means to understand that I'm meant to see with clear vision what is the human form of life? What is it meant for? What is its speciality? Dogs eat, dogs sleep. In fact, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, they're better than us. I mean, I don't want to get into it, the details, but lions can have sex so many times. Cows can eat bales. What to speak of an elephant with claws and nails? Put a grizzly bear in the cage with the top karate. Put a giant grizzly bear in with the world's champion at karate. Put a Bengal tiger in the same cage with your top, with whoever, I don't know who it is now, who cares, but you're, what do they call that? The world heavyweight champion. What was Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali, who was actually a nice person, that's another story. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Put him in the same cage with a Bengal tiger. And he wouldn't even see that paw coming. It's like a catcher's mitt. A paw of a Bengal tiger, it can knock your head off. And you won't even see that coming. He won't be able to float like a bumblebee, sting like a bee. He can't even get the sentence out before he's shredded. So the animals are better at it than us. What is the unique characteristic of the human being. Prabhupada gives the example that if someone's in the bullock cart and sound asleep, and a bag of grains falls off the back of the cart and the bag breaks open, bird will come, take a few grains. Squirrel will come, mouse will come, they'll take a few grains. Human being will come and fill up a pocket. And then he'll think, what about tomorrow? I better fill up my other pocket. And he'll walk a little bit and think, wait a minute, what about next week? What about next month? I better take the whole bag. Now, what does that mean? Dujamani, what does that mean? The animal takes enough for today, and what does the human being do? Well, okay, more than being required, according to Ishopanishad, you're right. But it also means something else when Prabhupada uses the other than Dvita. Huh? Greed's okay, greed's good, but it means something else. He's planning for the future. Saying, well, hang on a minute. Generally speaking, animals don't plan for the future. I mean, you got a few squirrels who save nuts, all right, fine. But the human form of life means to think, what's next? What happens at the time of death? You don't have any metaphysical conversations going on between the dolphin and the shark. Don't eat me, it's bad karma. You'll get it in your next life. I mean, they never have a debate about that because there's no concept. So the civilized, the human form of life means to think, wait a minute. I'm not just designed for eating. Man is called the rational animal. If you take rational out of the equation, then what's left? Your turn. You just got an animal. So without using one's facility for rationalization, then all you've got is an animal. Who am I? Did I just fall out of the sky? Where am I going? Hey, the inevitable means death. What happens at the time of death? Is it all dust to dust, ashes to ashes? Or do I go on? But they're not thinking like that. So it's being described here, civilized. So I'm going to jump ahead. Let me ask you this. It's talking about when you come to the mode of good, you want to get out of tamagun, which is ignorance, and you read in Bhagavad Gita or in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, renunciation in the mode of ignorance, renunciation in the mode of passion. Food in the mode of ignorance, putrefied, hours old, whatever it is. This peanut butter that's in the back of the kitchen, somehow or other sitting on one of the shelves. It has a legal federal limit. How many rat hairs and how many feces can be in the thing. And it's not zero. Thank you. And it's 6 months old. We were shopping one time in the Caribbean in our business days. And you can ask Vaikunt about it. It was called 0-2000 milk. And it was milk that was full of, because they don't have refrigeration in some of these little islands, or not much. And that milk, if you want to call it that, can be sitting on a shelf, they were saying, for 2,000 years. But it's been pasteurized, sterilized, nuked. All life has been removed from it. I mean, what is, they wonder why they've got cancer and so many other things. But Now, what was I going to say? So let's just say this. That's food in the mode of ignorance. We know what food in the mode of passion is. Too hot, too spicy, drive in Venezuela or drive in Italy when they're full of garlic and onions and see the effect it has on human psychology. So get into an elevator in Korea where they're living on that kimchi, it's called, garlic and rotten this and that. Oh. So my point is that you want to get out of the mode of ignorance, you want to get out of the mode of passion, you want to come to the mode of goodness, right? Well, that doesn't apply to devotees. We don't need to come to the mode of goodness. This is a rhetorical question I'm asking. Do we need to come to the mode of goodness? Hang on, man. I'm engaged in pure devotional service. It's transcendental. I don't need to. We zip right past the mode of goodness. Fact or fiction? Do the devotees need, fact or fiction? Who wants to say? Other than Dravida. You're determined, aren't you? In spite of my saying no. No, thank you very much. But I want to make sure the others are awake too. To the ladies, and if you want to say, do we need to come to the mode of goodness, or can we zip right past it to the pure consciousness?
Yeah, we need to come to the mode of goodness.
Oh, we do.
We have to work on ourselves.
Yeah, here's very good. Here's when the devotee said that to Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, then why are you falling down? Why do we fall down from devotion? Now we don't independently, separately need to cultivate. We don't need to cultivate charity. We go out on book distribution. It's the most magnificent act of charity one can perform. We distribute prasadam. By performing devotional service, we are automatically on the mode, beyond the mode of goodness with charity, humility, trinadapi sunichena, tolerance. But we need to seriously develop those qualities. So we need to think of, Prabhupada wrote how many qualities? 12 qualities of a devotee? What is that list? 24 qualities?
24.
It's 24 qualities of a devotee. Prabhupada wrote them out by hand and had it put by the Tilak mirror in the first temple. 26, there it is. 26 qualities of a devotee. So, okay, we need to be conscious of developing those qualities. Because, and Prabhupada describes, and I had some quotes, but I'm a little worried about the time. Anyway, Prabhupada talks about how if one comes to the mode of goodness, but then one can see things as they are. One becomes sober. If one's completely agitated, how can one think clearly? And if you can't think clearly, how can you learn to control your senses and be sober? Okay. Then it also says, so it says in this verse that you need to come to the mode of goodness. But then, therefore, regulation, so many things that we do, getting up early in the morning, eating at the same time, the same amounts. I mean, we don't have to be fanatic about it. But, these things situate one in the mode of goodness. Okay, but then Prabhupada says in this, or the verse says that we have to give up goodness. So we have to come to that level, and then we have to go beyond that level. And I just wanted to mention a few of these things. Why do we have to go beyond goodness? Now, one of the things is that the tendency of the living entity, and Prabhupada explains it blissfully, that there's a quality of the soul, of the Atma, called stanu, which means stable. It's not burned by fire, it's not moistened by water, it's not cut by. So the self, the soul, is stable. And Prabhupada uses the word stanu, Sanskrit word. But it can also mean that one becomes complacent. One becomes... Prabhupada describes that one of the dangers of the mode of goodness is one feels comfortable, because inherent in the mode of goodness is happiness, material happiness, peaceful mind, this and that. What's one of the most attractive things to say on Sankirtan to stop people? What do you say? Books about anxiety, stress, loneliness. They slam on the brakes. I'll take 2. So when one is in the mode of goodness, one of the dangers is one becomes complacent. One becomes stuck in a particular groove, and they don't push further. They don't. Another thing that comes from it is the Prabhupada says the exact wording is one becomes attracted to work in a particular way. What is one of the whole points of the chapter, of the message of Bhagavad Gita? What did Arjuna conclude in the mode of goodness? To not fight with his relatives, to not aspire for the kingdom. And Prabhupada says, on one hand, these are good qualities. He was peaceful, he was renounced, he was charitable. And what was the whole message of Bhagavad Gita? Prabhupada heard this saying, to be a yes man. You say, oh, he's just a yes man. Or he's, But Prabhupada said the whole point, I heard it on a tape, in Bhagavad Gita, that Krishna wanted to turn Arjuna from a no man to a yes man. What was he saying? What was Arjuna saying no to? I won't fight. I'm not fighting. What is it? Puts his bow down, says, Krishna, I will not fight. And the whole purpose, how does Bhagavad Gita conclude? Yes, I will. I'm ready to, execute your order, your command. My doubts are cleared. So fighting appears, and people flip. It's spoken on on a battlefield. How can it be spiritual? So, here's the thing. Here's the key thing I wanted to say, and I will end here. We are driven. I know I am. What is the measure of whether an activity is satisfying or not? This is the question I'm asking, and not for Dravida. Should I do it? Shouldn't I do it? I like it. I don't like it. Anyway, I'll just say it because it's take time. That is the measure of an activity. And the mind is doing it all the time. Oh, I like this. Oh, this makes me happy. This makes me peaceful. This makes me feel this. I like it. And that's the way, I don't like this. I don't like getting up early in the morning. I don't like celibacy. I don't like, what? I've got to do what they asked me to do at the temple. I want to do what I want to do. I want to go for a bike ride. That makes me happy. Bike rides at the right time, the right place, no problem. We're all for recreation, being healthy, don't get me wrong. But I want to do what I want to do. I don't like doing that. And if you think about that, That is such a hassle. I do what I want to do. I serve Krishna in the way I want to serve Krishna. I serve Krishna when I want to serve Krishna. I serve Krishna when it's easy and pleasing. I like to have kirtan. I like to sing. I like to take prasadam. I'm not going to go in there and wash all those pots. I don't like to wash those pots. But what if, hang on for a minute, what if the measure no longer was what I like to do? I don't care whether I like to do it or don't like it, whether it pleases my senses, whether it's an active. You know, Prabhupada living with those hippies who would bathe once a week and had cat food in the refrigerator. Jeez. You know what it's like for Prabhupada to live in such a place? Tamal Krishna Maharaj told me, Prabhupada one time, they're sitting in San Francisco, and Prabhupada said, I smell chicken soup. Tamal said, well, I don't smell anything. And Prabhupada said, that's because you've got purified senses. I mean, he was joking, you know. Prabhupada, you're such a refined person. And to live in that just seedy... People come right out of the bathroom, wipe their mouth and say, hey, shake hands, buddy. Nice to meet you. You think, oh, my gosh, I'm not touching that hand. Who knows where it's been? So, this is the point, in the mode of goodness, one becomes attached to acting in a particular way, a particular atmosphere, one becomes comfortable, and therefore one becomes stuck in a particular mode. And the main thing is one thinks, oh, this gives me happiness, this gives me pleasure. The measure of our activity is, do I like it? Is it pleasing to me? But if we can get out of that, as concluded by Arjuna in the end of the Bhagavad Gita, hey, so what's the alternative measure? I'm measuring, oh, I like this. I'll do this because it pleases me. So what is the and we'll end here. What is the alternative Vaishnav measure other than Dravida? Anybody know? Oh, other than Ram. Does it please Krishna? What if that was our only measure? Hey, what makes Krishna happy? I mean, we got to have the right body, and we got to be in the right place. We got to have enough money. We got to be with the right people. We got to have the right weather. It is such a hassle. We're juggling all these things to just get the right conditions that makes us happy. Oh, it is a huge hassle and burden. From the moment they wake up in the morning, you know, to the minute they lay their tired head on the bed, it's just a struggle. Trying to push the matter around and have it stay in place. It's like trying to work with mercury, you know, trying to get it to stay in the right shape and the right place. What a hassle. And what if, hey, how can I please Krishna? Patram pushpam palam toyam, you offer me a leaf, a fly. His demands are not conditional. So that's the point it's talking about here. We have to come to the mode of goodness, and then we have to go beyond the mode of goodness to coming to the point of simply pleasing Krishna. And lo and behold, one becomes happy in any condition. So we can, in there, we're way over late. So thank you very much, Hare Krishna. So what's the measure? What should be what's the mundane wrong measure? Other than Dravida.
Do I like it?
Do I like it? Does it make me happy? And what is the Vaishnav measure of activities? Does it please Krishna? Let me please Krishna. Such an easy choice. Hare Krishna.